بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we continue going over the tremendous book by the Fadilat al-Shaykh Al-Allama Al-Imam Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah ta'ala. The book which is entitled Durus al-Muhimma li'amat al-Ummah, the book which is entitled Important Lessons for the Common Muslim. We're still speaking about the conditions of La ilaha illallah. We have reached the 8th and final condition for this tremendous kalima, the kalima that is tayyiba, the kalima of La ilaha illallah. The 8th condition is al-kufr bima yu'bad min dunillah. It is to disbelieve in everything that is worshipped other than Allah. Is to disbelieve in the false deities. Naam. Shaykh Abdul Razak bin Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad Al-Badr Hafidhahumullah Ta'ala, he mentions, he says, Kama qala ta'ala, Kama qala Allah Ta'ala, as Allah the Most High, the Most Exalted, He says, فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى. And whoever disbelieves in the false deities, whoever disbelieves in the false deity, and they believe in Allah, then they would have taken hold of the most trustworthy handhold. This ayah, we went over this ayah before. Does anyone recall where this ayah is located? Surah 2, ayah 256. Naam. Ayah number 256. Well, firstly, Surah 2 is what surah? Surah Al-Baqarah. Naam. And ayah 256 is, what ayah is before it? Ayah Al-Kursi. Naam. Ahsantum. طيب. Here in this ayah, there is a proof and an evidence that we have to disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah. Where can that be seen? In which part? And whoever disbelieves in Taghut, whoever disbelieves in the false deities. Naam. But we also mentioned that this ayah is a proof for what?
Worship of Allah.
Is a proof to worship Allah. Naam. What else? Proof to Tawheed. Naam. I'm looking for something specific. It's a dalil for what? Naam. A dalil for the shahada. Which part of the shahada? The first part of the shahada. It's a dalil for what about it though? Huh? Naam, you see the negation in it. What else do we see in it? The affirmation. Right? And we said that the shahada has two pillars. The shahada of La ilaha illallah has two pillars. Those pillars are affirmation and negation. Naam, affirmation and negation. So this ayah is a proof for that because we see that here. Also, what is it a proof for?
Rejecting the false deities.
Naam, it's a proof for rejecting the false deities. Naam, what else? Again, I'm looking for something very specific. Naam, that was mentioned. Tawheed. Naam. Okay, let me give it to you. It is a proof for what? For the proper meaning of La ilaha illallah. Naam. It is a proof for the proper meaning of La ilaha illallah. And what is the proper meaning of La ilaha illallah? Is what?
None has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah alone, who has no partner.
Naam, ahsant. That none has the right to be worshipped in the truth except Allah alone. طيب. Does anyone remember how to say that in Arabic? No? La. It's with a meme. La. La ma'buda. نعم لا معبود بحق what إلا الله. نعم, that none has the right to be worshipped in the truth except Allah. لا معبود بحق إلا الله. So this ayah is a dalil for the proper meaning of La ilaha illallah. So as we see in this ayah, it contains a proof and evidence for a number of things. From them, the proper meaning of La ilaha illallah. Also, it establishes that this kalima of La ilaha illallah, it consists of two pillars, an affirmation and a negation. We see that here also in the ayah. Now, so someone says, well, what's the dalil? Then from the adillah is what? Is this ayah. Also from the adillah is clearly the kalima itself. La ilaha. This is a negation. And then we have illallah. This is an affirmation. Naam, so we see it in the kalima itself. But if someone says, I want an ayah which points to me to that, then we come to this ayah which shows us is an ayah that shows the proper meaning of La ilaha illallah. We see in it the negation and the affirmation, same order. Also, of course, it is a proof which shows that we have to establish Tawheed, and that can be found in Allah Ta'ala's statement, وَيُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ, and they believe and believe in Allah. It's also a negation, or it also shows us that we have to disbelieve, have kufr in what? In the false deities. Naam, because Allah Ta'ala in the ayah He says, فَمَن يَكْفُرْ, whoever has kufr, whoever disbelieves in what? The Taghut, whoever disbelieves in the false deities. Naam. So we see here in this portion of the ayah that what? That we have to have kufr for the Taghut. We have to have disbelief for the false deities. So you find here, the Shaykh he mentions, and the way he words it is what? Al-kufr bima yu'bad min dunillah. To disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah. Naam. Also in the ayah, Allah Ta'ala He says, فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى. طيب, إيش العروة الوثقى? What is the meaning of عروة الوثقى, the most trustworthy handhold? What is that? What is the most trustworthy handhold? La ilaha illallah. Ahsant. The most trustworthy handhold, then what it is La ilaha illallah. So whoever has come with the negation and the affirmation, whoever disbelieved in the Taghut, whoever has believed in Allah, whoever disbelieves in everything that's worshipped other than Allah, and they establish the ibadah for Allah and Allah alone, then they will have taken hold, and they will have hold on to the most trustworthy handhold, which is the kalima La ilaha illallah. But the Shaykh goes on and he says, وَقَالَ صلى الله عليه وسلم, and the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, and all of this shows us that we have to disbelieve in the Taghut. We have to disbelieve in those things that are worshipped other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, مَنْ قَالَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَكَفَرَ بما يعبد من دون الله حرم ماله ودمه. حديث صحيح أخرجه مسلم. نعم. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said what means, and whoever says La ilaha illallah and they disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah. They disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah. وَكَفَرَ بِمَا يُعْبَدْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, and they disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah. Na'am. And then, how did the Shaykh articulate it? الْكُفْرُ بِمَا يُعْبَدْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, the disbelief in that which is worshipped other than Allah. So where even the verbiage of this particular sentence and the wording of it is extracted from where? From the hadith itself. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَكَفَرَ, which is the fi'l al-madi, which is the past tense verb, and they disbelieved, right? And that which is worshipped other than Allah. طيب. The Shaykh, he brought the masdar. I don't know what that is in English. The verbal noun or something like this. على كل حال, the masdar. He brought the masdar al-kufr. Al-kufr. But as far as the rest of the sentence, and kufr, disbelief, right? Kafara, he disbelieved, is the verb. He disbelieved. But the rest of the sentence is completely the same. بِمَا يُعْبَدْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, from that which is worshipped other than Allah. Tamam? So and I'm pointing this out to say is that the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, you can clearly see from their usloob wa asalib, you can see from their usloob wa asalib, from the manner in which they speak, the manner in which they articulate and express things, right? You can see that it is, or it emanates from one who has the proof, understands the proof, and then now is speaking about the proof, right? So it emanates from the adillah. And this is the way of Ahlul Sunnah, is that we have the dalil first, then we take a belief, right? And this is in accordance to the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He informs us about the statement of the believers, when they say what? Sami'na wa ata'na. We hear, we obey. Sami'na. Before they obey, they didn't say ata'na. First, we obey. Obey what? We have to know the command first. Right? So before we take a belief, we have to what? We have to know what is have the ilm. We have to know what is the proper belief. Then we take the belief. Right? So we have ilm qabla qawli wa amal, that knowledge precedes statements and action. But this is the way of Ahlul Sunnah. We have the proof and evidence first, then we take a belief. This is the way of Ahlul Sunnah. And this becomes extremely apparent, especially when they're speaking about the religion, is that it's filled with proofs and evidences. It's filled with proofs and evidences. So much so that their manner of explanation, their manner of articulation is influenced by the proofs and the evidences, so much so that you find very similar very similar statements and very similar sentence construction and so on and so forth, matching the proof and the evidence. Because the way of Ahlul Sunnah is the way of the Haqq. Na'am, it's the right way, the way of the Haqq. But Amma Ahlul Bid'ah, but as relates to Ahlul Bid'ah, they're on the opposite. They're on the opposite. Meaning that what? They take beliefs, then they try to find proofs and evidences to substantiate it, which they could never do, right? And this is why when they bring a proof and evidence, the manner in which they try to apply what they're trying to say is so flimsy that, as the ulama they mentioned, you don't have to find another proof and evidence to combat them, but use the same proof and evidence that they're trying to use, read it from beginning to end, and you'll find in it itself the reputation on them. You'll find it in it itself that you can't use this like that. You're misusing it. You've taken it outside of its context. You have altered the meaning, and so on and so forth. Na'am. This hadith, it shows us here that it is not enough for a person just to say La ilaha illallah. It is not enough for a person just to believe in the other 7 conditions up until this point. But they must also couple that with what? With disbelieving in that which is worshipped other than Allah. They have to disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever has done this, haruma maluhu wa damuhu, then whoever has done this, then his blood and his money will be haram. Then his blood and his money will be haram. طيب لحظة. نعم جميل. طيب the Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he goes on and he says فهذا قيد لا تكون لا إله إلا الله مقبولة إلا به. This is what do you say? This is a restriction, right? Or in other words, this is a stipulation. This is stipulation that in order for an individual to benefit from, and in order for La ilaha illallah to be accepted, that La ilaha illallah, it will not be accepted unless and except al-kufr bima yu'bad min dunillah, except that an individual has to disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah. Naam, they have to disbelieve in that which is worshipped other than Allah, and they have to come with bil bara' min ash-shirk wa ahli, and they have to disassociate themselves, disavow shirk and the people of shirk. They have to disassociate themselves and free themselves from polytheism and from the polytheist. This is a must. Now, before getting into the dalil on how we have to disassociate ourselves from shirk and the people of shirk, it is important to understand that what is meant and intended by al-kufr, that they have a disbelief bima yu'bad min dunillah, with that which is worshipped other than Allah, meaning they disbelieve in the legitimacy of these things. And in some cases disbelieve in these things themselves. In some cases we will disbelieve in the thing itself and in the legitimacy of that thing being worshipped. And in other cases we will disbelieve in the legitimacy of that thing being worshipped while we believe in the thing itself. A person may say, well, how is that? Right? If a person were to mention Osiris or Zeus or Apollo and the like from these false deities, then with these things, we disbelieve in those things themselves, right? And we disbelieve in the legitimacy of those things being worshipped. That makes sense? So when it comes to, for example, Zeus, Jupiter, Apollo, Mercury, whoever, we disbelieve in those false deities themselves, and we disbelieve in the legitimacy of them being worshipped. As relates to the second example, or the second type, that we believe in the thing itself, but we disbelieve in the legitimacy of it being worshipped, then this is like, for example, the case of the angels. So those kuffar who worship the angels, like the Christians, they worship Mikael. Now, you find them worshipping Mikael, or the angel Michael as they call him. Right? We believe in Mikael, but we disbelieve in the legitimacy of his worship. As Mikael alayhi salatu disbelieves in the legitimacy of his worship. Now, because he knows La ilaha illallah. Likewise, Isa, Jesus. We believe in Jesus. We believe in Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, but we disbelieve in the legitimacy of his worship, as he himself disbelieves in the legitimacy that anything be worshipped other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise with Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, وقس على ذلك, and he could use that as a frame of reference. So any righteous believer who has been taken as an object of worship falsely, we believe in those righteous ones, meaning the angels and the prophets who have been taken as objects of worship, but we disbelieve in the legitimacy that they are worshipped, as they themselves disbelieve in the legitimacy of such, because all of the prophets, all of the messengers, all of the angels, they all believe and implement and submit to La ilaha illallah. Now, that makes sense? Right. So now getting back to how we disavow ourselves and disassociate ourselves from shirk and from the people of shirk. From shirk and the people of shirk. Then we look at Allah Ta'ala's statement in Surah Al-Mumtahina in its verse number 4. Or before that, let's look at Allah Ta'ala's statement from Surah Zukhruf in its verses 26 and 27. How Allah Ta'ala informed us about the statement of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, when he told his people, and Ibrahim is our example. As it comes in Surah Al-Mumtahina, verse number 4, he's our example. He's our goodly example in this regard. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he told his people, Inni bara'un mimma ta'budun. He said that verily I'm free from what you worship. This is what he told his people. He said, I am free from what you worship. Now listen, here's a point, because I don't want anyone to be confused, or to anyone to try to give credit where it's not due. Do the kuffar, do they worship Allah? Na'am. Now of course we don't mean with the worship that's accepted. We know that's not true. But the kuffar in general, do they direct some of their worship to Allah? Yes, they do. You see, many of the polytheists, they worship Allah and others along with Allah. So of course it don't count, right? It don't count. But what's the proof and the evidence which shows this? Because you have some Muslims that will try to say, oh, but at least they worship God, right? But then the question becomes, well, who doesn't? Meaning, who doesn't direct some of their ibadah to God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The question is that, or the issue is that their directing of some worship unto Allah is not accepted. Why? Because they mix their ibadah with shirk. They worship Allah and others along with Allah. So they get no credit for that. They get no credit for that. So therefore no credit is to be given to them for that fact. But what's the proof and the evidence which shows that the kuffar, the polytheists that it's possible that they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that what did Ibrahim alayhi salam, what did he say to his people? He said, Inni bara'u mimma ta'budun illa alladhi fatarani. He said that verily I'm free from what you worship, meaning I disbelieve in what you worship, except for the one who has fashioned me. Which is an indication that what? That his people used to also worship Allah. So he said, from all those things that you worship, I am free from them, I disbelieve in them, I have nothing to do with them, except for the one who fashioned me. Which is an indication that what? They used to also worship Allah. But they got no points for that. Right? That makes sense? So here is a proof and evidence which shows that we have to disassociate ourselves from shirk. We have to disassociate ourselves from that which is worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, Allah ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-Mumtahina, verse number 4, قَدْ كَانَتْ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. That verily you have for you a goodly example in Ibrahim and those who are with him. From Ibrahim and those who are with them, from those believers who were with Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. إِذْ قَالُوا, when they said to who? لِقَوْمِهِمْ نعم إِذْ قَالُوا لِقَوْمِهِمْ إِنَّا بُرَآءُ مِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. نعم, when they said to the people that verily we are free from نعم إذ قالوا لقومهم إنا براء مما تعبدون من دون الله. That verily we are لا إذ قالوا لقومهم إنا براء منكم ومما تعبدون من دون الله. نعم, when they said to their people that verily we are free from you and from that which you worship other than Allah. Na'am, when they said unto their people that verily we are free from you and from that which you worship other than Allah. Now listen to the wording of their declaration unto their people. One, they freed themselves from them. Inna bura'a'u minkum, we're free from you all. Wa mimma ta'budun min dunillah, and from that which you worship other than Allah. Then they said unto them, kafarna bikum, we disbelieve in you. Naam, we disbelieve in you, in you all. Kafarna bikum, we disbelieve in all of you. Meaning what? That which you worship other than Allah, you all, yani, to the end of it. وَبَدَى بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةِ وَالْبَغْضَاءَ أَبَدًا. And there has emanated and begun from, yani, between us, enmity and hatred forever. There is lasting hatred and enmity between us and between you. Hatta, until when? Hatta tu'minu billahi wahda, until you all believe in Allah alone. Until you all believe in Allah alone, then is a notice of our enmity and our hatred that will be between us, mutually between us, until you worship Allah alone. Naam. So here we see again what? The same word again. The same word again. Kafarna bikum, we disbelieve in you all. So there has to be what? A disbelief from us for those things that are worshipped other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There has to be a disassociation for the from polytheism and from the polytheists, from shirk and from the mushrikun. Now when one he sees a like of this ayah, and the statement of Ibrahim and those who are with him, isn't it clear that they disassociated themselves from the kuffar and from that which they worship? As they said unto them, Inna bura'a'u minkum wa mimma ta'buduna min dunillah, that we are free from you, we disassociate ourselves from you all and from that which you worship other than Allah. Is there any ambiguity, is there any confusion as relates to their stance between them and them? There's no ambiguity, there's no confusion. They were free from them. Now, does it sound like Does it sound like such individuals who will make such a declaration to the people of kufr, to the polytheists, does it sound like that they will want to imitate or have anything to do with the life of the polytheists? No, not at all. They didn't want nothing to do with them. They were free from them and from that which they used to worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also here we have in this ayah another proof and evidence which shows that they worshipped Allah, because it says what? إِنَّا بُرَآءُ مِنْكُمْ وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ, that we are free from you and from that which you worship other than Allah. Naam. So it is a must that what? That we come with all of the conditions of La ilaha illallah in order for it to count. We have to come with all of the conditions for La ilaha illallah in order for it to count. And without coming with all of the conditions, then it will not count. So to help us into memorizing this, the Shaykh he mentions, قال وقد جمعت أي هذه الشروط في بيتين that these conditions have been combined inside of two lines of poetry, في البيتين الآتين, and the two following lines of poetry. And this again is so that it helps us to memorize them. Naam. So Shaykh bin Baz, he brought these lines of poetry so that we can easily memorize them, and they're only two lines. This is not to say that this is the only poem that mentions the conditions of La ilaha illallah, because it's not. And inshallah ta'ala we're going to mention another famous poem, or portion of another famous poem which mentions it. But the Shaykh, he brought this particular one, right, because it's clear, it's straight to the point, and it's simple, and it's small. It's only two lines. Naam. The other one, as you'll see, is more lines. The other one is more lines, right? 4 lines. This is 2 lines. This is 2 lines. So this is easy to memorize because it's only 2 lines. Naam. It's straight to the point. It really doesn't have an introduction and things of this. It's just straight to the point. 2 lines of poetry. And I encourage everyone to memorize these lines and to go over them and to go over them, so that this way you have the ilm with you wherever you go. You have it with you. Naam. And that you review it. You have to review it. Whatever's memorized, you have to review it, because if you don't look at it for a long time, you'll forget it. So you have to review it to keep it strong, to keep it fresh. And this is from the stuff that's beneficial, right? This is from the stuff that is beneficial. But by now, we should have all memorized these lines of poetry, right? I don't remember how many weeks we've been on the conditions, but it's been some time. So we should all have memorized by now. If not, then as they say, there's no time like the present. Then let's get them, inshallah ta'ala, and have them. But as a review and as a recap of what we have covered so far, then these 2 lines of poetry, which contains the conditions, right? And I'm going to give you a quiz. I'm going to say it in Arabic, and then I want you to tell me what's what. But these 2 lines, first we'll say the 2 lines, and then we'll go back. These 2 lines are علم يقين وإخلاص وصدقك معه محبة وانقيادا والقبول لها وزيد ثامنها الكفران منك بما سوى الإله من الأشياء قد أُلِّهَا. نعم. طيب, now we're going to back over them. It is علم. What's علم? What's that? Knowledge. طيب. Then we have يقين. What's يقين? Certainty. نعم. Then we have إخلاص وإخلاص. Sincerity. طيب. Then we have صدق. Truthfulness. Here in poetry it says, وَصِدْقُكَ مَعَ, and your truthfulness coupled with, or along with, right? Right, then we got mahabba, love. Naam, ahsantum. وانقياد, compliance. Naam, and compliance, what does compliance mean? To submit. Ahsantum. Naam. والقبول, acceptance. Right. Then I help you out with that. It says وَزِيدَ ثَامِنُهَا, and the 8th one is added. الْكُفْرَانِ مِنْكَ بِمَا. Kufran is what? Disbelief. A disbelief from you for that which, right? A disbelief that emanates from you, or disbelief from you, bima, for that which is siwa al-ilah min al-ashya' qad ulliha, that which is other than Allah from things that have been taken as objects of worship, right? That which other than Allah from things that have been taken as objects of worship. But now I know those that have the translation, the translator may have worded it slightly differently than what I have worded it, but yeah, I mean, generally that's the meaning. Yeah? Generally that's the meaning. So these are the shurut. So Shaykh Abdul Razak, he mentions, he says, فَهَذِهِ هِيَ الشُّرُوطُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ الثَّمَانِيَةِ. He said, and these are the conditions of La ilaha illallah, yani the 8 conditions. The 8 conditions of La ilaha illallah. طيب. ومن أهل العلم من يقتصر في عدها على 7. And there are from Ahl al-Ilm that يقتصر, that suffice with numbering them as 7. Meaning from Ahl al-Ilm that only number the conditions of La ilaha illallah as 7, not 8, as 7. And the 8th one, because here it says what? It says وَزِيدَ ثَامِنُهَا, and that the 8th is added, right? طيب. From Ahl al-Ilm, they don't include the 8th condition of La ilaha illallah. The Shaykh, he mentions باعتبار أن الثامن الذي زيد داخل أو داخل فيما قبله, that the 8th condition that is added is understood and it enters into that which is before it. That the 8th condition that is added is understood and it enters into that which is before it. So in other words, the concept of disbelieving in that which is worship other than Allah, you can find that concept present in that which is before it. Naam. So as an example, you can find it present in more than one condition, the concept. But for an example, you can find it present in ikhlas. Right? When you're talking about ikhlas, making all of the deen sincerely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and specifically here, what the utterance and the saying of La ilaha illallah has to be sincere for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the whole concept of sincerity of the religion, all the ibadah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that enters into that what you have to establish the tawheed and disbelieve in a taghut. Naam. Likewise, mahabba, that our mahabba is khalisa lillah, is sincerely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We love the kalima of La ilaha illallah, that which it points to. Loving that which it points to, meaning that you have to love the establishment of worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you have to what? You also have to love disbelieving in that which is worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the concept is there. So because of the concept is there, some of the ulama, they don't add it, they don't reiterate it. Right? But then you have others from the ulama that although the concept is there, it is reiterated and is brought so that it's extremely clear. It's reiterated and it's brought so that it's extremely clear. And also, they bring it because of the text that clearly mention it and highlight it. So they highlight it as well. Although it's clearly understood in the 7, right, conditions, they highlight it because is needed to be highlighted. Is needed to be highlighted, especially in this day and time which we're living in right now, where the level of knowledge has dropped to a level that it has dropped. Then is definitely has to be clearly reiterated, or is a benefit in clearly reiterating it. Although, if we suffice with the 7, that's also correct. Why? Because the concept is there and it's understood. That makes sense? نعم. طيب. ومما جمعها نظما, and from وممن جمعها نظما, and from those who have collected conditions of La ilaha illallah in a poetic form, in poetry, then it will be no other than a Shaykh Hafiz Hakami rahimahullah ta'ala. Shaykh Hafiz Hakami rahmatullah alayhi, he brings them in his manzuma, in his collection of poetry, or his poem, which is entitled Sulam al-Wusul, or generally referred to as Sulam al-Wusul. He said, وبالشروط سبعة قد قيدت في نصوص الوحي حقا وردت. He says, and we'll go line for line, inshallah ta'ala, might be easier, right? He says, and with 7 lines, or 7 conditions that come as stipulations, or 7 conditions that are restricted inside of the text of the wahi. In truth, they have come. Inside of the text of the wahi, in truth, they have come. فَإِنَّهُ لَمْ يَنْتَفِعْ قَائِلُهَا بالنطق إلا حيث يستكملها. And I'm pretty sure you hear in Arabic it sounds much nicer than the translation, right? It says, and verily, فإنه, verily he will not, لم ينتفع, he will not benefit, verily it will not benefit قائلها, verily it will not benefit the one who says it. بالنطق إلا حيث يستكملها, that the one who says it, he will not benefit by its articulation. That just because a person says it, they will not benefit. إلا حيث يستكملها, until they have completed and fulfilled the 7 conditions. Because remember, he numbered them 7. So when he says يستكملها, then it means the 7, those 7 conditions, right? So they will not benefit from La ilaha illallah until when? Until they establish all of its conditions. Naam. And see, I'm going to tell you right now. See, this is the benefit, as Shaykh Salih Abdis al-Shaykh, he mentions, this is the benefit in studying the same topic, the same subject, a number of times. Right? He said because each time you study it, you're going to discover something new. And especially when you study it from different scholars of Ahlul Sunnah, right? You're going to find some benefits that this one mentions that the other one don't mention. You're going to find some benefits that this one mentions that the other one don't mention. Now, the advice of Ahlul Ilm will be to study one book of that explains a topic at a time. One book that explains a topic at a time. But never be of those who, for example, how many people you may have heard them say, oh, I studied that before, I ain't going to study it again. Or that subject, oh yeah, I studied that subject, I went over this book and that book with this sheikh and whatever, so I don't have to sit in this other class with the other sheikh to hear the same topic. I studied it before. Right? Even if it's the same book, it's fine. Why? Because you're going to find in the explanation, for example, of Shaykh Uthaymeen for the Thalathatul Usul, things that you may not find in the explanation by Shaykh Salih Fawzan, and then vice versa. Shaykh Salih Fawzan, he may highlight things that Shaykh Uthaymeen didn't highlight. Right? Shaykh Ibn Baz may bring it in a way that those two didn't bring it. Right? And then so on and so forth. Shaykh Salih Abdis al-Shaykh, he brings it in a way and mentions things that others don't mention. So you benefit. Why? Because you're going to get different things added to it. So for example, when you look at the lines of poetry, a person said, I memorized the two from Sheikh bin Baz's book, so I got to memorize the ones from Hafiz Hakami. I suffice myself with that. The ones from Sheikh bin Baz, he mentions 8 conditions, so you benefit from that. Right? And then here you benefit from what? From what was mentioned as like an introduction before actually getting into it, and that is فَإِنَّهُ لَمْ يَنْتَفِعْ قَائِلُهَا بِالنُّطْقِ إِلَّا حَيْثُ يَسْتَكْمِلُهَا, and that the one who in that it will not benefit the one who merely says it. The articulation of it will not benefit him until he completes the conditions of it. So now you understand, okay, until all the conditions are completed, a person is not going to benefit. Although that was understood from what Sheikh Mabazi mentioned, because it's here clearly articulated, now you can highlight that. Now there's something else that's highlighted. So you have one thing highlighted by Sheikh Mabaz that's not highlighted here, one thing highlighted here by Hafiz Hakami that's not highlighted over there. So you see the benefit? You see the benefit? You bring it all together. So then the Shaykh, he mentions, he gets into a Shaykh Al-Hafiz Al-Hakami rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions, he says, Al-ilmu wal-yaqinu wal-qabulu wal-qiyadu fadri ma aqulu wal-sidqu wal-ikhlasu wal-mahabba وَفَقَقَ اللَّهُ لِمَا أَحَبَّهُ. Naam, different flow. Nice. You see? Whichever one, يعجبك, whichever one, stuns you, whichever one you're amazed with, memorize that one. If you want to memorize these 4 lines, ahlan wa sahlan, do it. If you want to suffice with the other 2 lines, do that. Person A+ student want to do all 6 lines, those 2 and these 4, do it. Right? But ala kulli hal, memorize one of them. Memorize one of them. Be outstanding, do both of them, but at least do one of them, inshallah ta'ala. Right? Whichever one, because everything, you might like the way this one sounds more, and the like. And I'll translate this one slightly, because it's nice, it's nice. They mention some things nice. He says, علم واليقين والقبول وانقياد فدر ما أقول. He says, knowledge, certainty, acceptance, compliance, فدر ما أقول, understand what I'm saying. That's what that means, فدر ما أقول. Right? I don't know how they translate it. I'm just like Ibanical, what I say. Understand what I'm saying. Right? But والصدق والإخلاص والمحبة وفقق الله لما أحبه. نعم. And truthfulness and sincerity and love. May Allah give you the success in doing that in which He loves. That's beautiful, man. Right? That's beautiful. So if that one speaks to you, as they say, memorize that one. But make sure it's one of them. My advice, memorize them both, because they so beautiful. That's a beautiful way to spend your day right there. You know what I mean? If it take you all day to memorize those 6 lines of poetry, that's a beautiful way to spend a day, right or wrong. It's a beautiful way to spend a day. The Shaykh, he mentions, the Shaykh Abdul Razak rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions, he says, وَشَرْحُهَا في كتاب معارج القبور شرح منظومة سلم الوصول. He says, and Sheikh Hafiz Al-Hakami, Sheikh Hafiz Al-Hakami rahimahullah ta'ala, he wrote these lines of poetry. These lines of poetry that outline the Aqidah Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, outline some beautiful points of the Aqidah Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah in this bab, right? And then he came back and he wrote a book, 2 volumes, explaining his poetry. You understand what I'm saying? He wrote some lines of poetry which talking about the Aqidah of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah as relates to these topics. And then he came back and he wrote a book which is 2 volumes, 2 nice sized volumes, where he explains his poem. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, right? And this is one of those things, Wallahu a'la wa a'lam, if it would ever be translated. So this is an encouragement, an encouragement to learn Arabic language so that you can have access to the likes of this tremendous work, so you get your hands on it and benefit from it. And the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, وَهُوَ مَتْبُوعٌ مُتَجَاوِلٌ, yani that it's been translated and it's, easy, accessible, wide, is everywhere. And he says, وَيُنصَحْ بِاقْتِنَائِهِ وَالْإِفَادَةِ مِنْهُ. He said, and I advise, the Shaykh Abdul Razak, he says, it's advised to benefit from it and to place a big concern on it. Naam, to place a big concern and be diligent as relates to it and to benefit from it. فَإِنَّهُ كِتَابٌ عَظِيمٌ جِدًّا فِي بَابِهِ, because it is a book that is tremendous as relates to the subject in which it covers. وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ فِيهِ مُؤَلِّفُ رحمه الله تعالى وأجاد وأفاد. He said, and the author of it, he really excelled as related to it and really benefited. وحشد فيه الأدلة من كتاب الله وسنة رسوله عليه الصلاة والسلام, and he combined in it, he gathered in it many proofs and evidences from the book of Allah and from the sunnah of his messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam في بيان جوانب الاعتقاد أهل أصول الديانة, as related to discussing the i'tiqad, the creed and the fundamental principles of the religion. Naam, the book is extremely outstanding, and I encourage everyone, those who know Arabic, to benefit from this book tremendously, and for those who are learning, in the process of learning Arabic, to get your hands on the book and buy it, add it to your libraries, and let that be from the motivation to work diligently and work hard on learning the Arabic language. And then the Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he goes on into the next section in which Imam bin Baz Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he mentioned. However, we will save that for the next class, as that gets into the next topic and the next subject, which is dealing with the second part of the Shahada. dealing with the second part of the Shahada. فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وجزاكم الله خيرا.